The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
There was a person who lived in Russia. A terrible person. He was a Moser. He was a person who would snitch all the time on the Jewish community. He would go to the government, he would make up things about them in order to stay in favor, in order to be a feared person. Unfortunately, you had those types of people. You know, today, sometimes you have a small-time Moser. What's a small-time Moser? Guy gets in trouble with the government. They tell him, you're going to do less time if you snitch on somebody, and you give us a bigger fish than you. The guy tells the government that this guy, or sometimes he makes up information, or sometimes they entrap people. That's a smallish time Moser. Still a Moser, 100%. No excuse, because you're going to go to jail. You let someone else sit in jail. Still a Moser. But I call that a small-time Moser. Because they were big-time Mosrim. They would go to the government for free. Just for the power. Just for the money. Just for the influence. Okay? They develop a relationship with someone in the government, with the chief of police, with the mayor, with the poritz, with the government, with the government officials at the time. They'd feed them information, and then people would sit in jail, people would get killed, And in fact, when we had this problem the first time, the Chachamim, we added a beracha to the Shmonaesre, to the Amidah. Which beracha do we add? Laminim v'lamalshinim. In some sidurim, you have the nusach, laminim v'lamalshinim v'lamosrim. Okay? But the word malshinim and the word mosrim, it's the same thing. People would tell tales, they would go and snitch on people to the government. We just spoke on Shabbat about one of the most high-profile mosrim in the history of the Jewish people. In the story of Kamsa Bar Kamsa. He got very upset, he was humiliated. He went to the Roman emperor and he told him, Mardu becha Yehudai. The Jews have rebelled against you. Did the Jews rebel? No. That's a Moser. That's a Malshin. So they instituted this beracha in the Amidah that they should be cut off, they should be wiped out, they should be, etc. Anyway, so this guy, a Moser, he caused the Jewish people in the city in Russia all sorts of problems. It's time, every person, no matter how powerful, eventually they shuffle off this mortal coil. The guy calls the Chevra Kadisha to a meeting in his house. This fellow's a dangerous man. So everybody listens. But they come into his house and they see that the dangerous man is now lying in his bed. He's weak. He's old. And he tells them, listen, I know you all hate me. I know that during this time on earth, I was a Rasha. But please, he says, do me a favor. There's so much I have to get kapara for before I go to Shamayim. I know I did wrong. I feel terrible now. I'm so sick and I'm so old and I'm going to die soon. There's no time almost left for me to change it. Please, promise me that you will bury me in the most humiliating way possible so that my kibura will be a kapara. Everybody's very moved. They say, sure, what do you think? What kind of thing do you think we should do? What do you have in mind? We're only too happy to oblige. The guy says, if you could bury me instead of lying down, bury me standing up in the ground. They're moved by his request to humiliate him for kapara. The guy obviously has a lot of kapara that he needs in his life. They agree. Not only that, they sign a contract that they're going to do it. Anyway, word gets to the rabbi of the town, who at the time was a young or younger Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Moshe Feinstein calls the Chevra Kadisha in. He says, who died and made you king? You can't change the halachot. There's a way you bury someone, there's a way you bury someone. You're not allowed to make up things. They said, but the guy, Teshuvah, Kapara, Selicha, Mechila, right? The guy, please, we even signed the document. He says, what signed the document? Mushba ve'omed. This is the halakha. You can't change the halakha for nobody. You bury him exactly. I'm sorry, you promised him something that you weren't allowed to promise him. They bury him as normal. They feel bad. They didn't give the guy his last will and testament. His last wish on earth. Anyway, everyone buries the guy. I'm sure it was a very small funeral. It was COVID style without being COVID. It was kavod less. Everyone goes home from the Chevra Kadisha, and a short while after the burial is over, there's a knocking at the door of the office of the Chevra Kadisha. They open the door, and who's there? The Russian police. They say, take us to the cemetery right now. They don't know what's going on. They take him to the cemetery. They say, dig up the Moser guy. They say, we're not allowed to. The halacha says you can't disrespect the body. Guy pulls out his gun. He says, dig up the guy. They dig, until finally the kever is open. They show the guy the aron, the coffin in the ground. They look at each other, the police, puts his gun back in his holster. He leaves. They said, what happened? They asked him, what's going on? The Moser had sent a message to the Russian police. The people of this town, they hate the government, they hate the law. Now, even in my death, they're going to try and take revenge against me for working together with you, the police. And you know what the proof will be? That they're going to bury me differently to all other Jews. They're going to be burying me in the ground, standing up, as a sign of disrespect. And the disrespect to me is disrespect to you. Mardu becha Yehudai. The Jews have rebelled against you. It would have meant death, suffering, destruction, exile for the whole community. But the Jews listened to the rabbi. Kasher tziva Amonai biyad Moshe. Biyad Moshe, biyad Rav Moshe Feinstein. When a person has emunat chachamim, when they treat the word of the chachamim the right way, then they avoid so much.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org